My name is Mike Duchaj. I'm the Senior Physical Therapist for Sherman Health Systems. In addition to working for Sherman Health Systems, I'm also an adjunct professor of physical therapy at Northern Illinois University here in Northern Illinois. So if you're considering starting exercise for the first time and medically it's appropriate for you, if you feel like you need to see your physician, that's always a good place to start. But as far as just exercises to begin with, think about the things that you like to do and even try to make the things that you do every day into an exercise. Going from your chair, sitting to standing. Instead of always pushing up with your hands, try scooting to the front of your chair and then standing up from your chair without using your arms. And then doing that repeatedly can actually turn into a fair amount of exercise over the course of a day. In addition to that, going up and down the stairs, to try to do it in a very controlled, slow, even manner, as long as you don't have any other medical problems that may limit that, that's a nice place to start. When we think about fitness exercises, you're never really going to run into problems by doing too little, but you can run into problems by doing too much. So if you start out at a level that you believe is reasonable or even slightly lower than reasonable, it's always a good place to kind of gauge how you respond to that and then increase that gradually over time. One of the kind of benchmarks that we use is no more than 10% increases at any given time. So if you go out on the first day and you walk for 15 minutes and that went really well, increase that by 10% the next time you go out, and so that'd be about another minute and a half. And then if that went well, then you can increase by another 10%. And then when you start to get to the point where it's challenging, then you may want to stay at a level for a period of time before you look to start to move up. So it's always good to, again, begin maybe at a little bit lower level than you think you're really capable of, rather than going into it, overdoing it, and then ending up either creating an injury or at the very least dealing with delayed onset muscle soreness for the next 3 or 4 days. One of the things that we look at is when you start to exercise, some of the different tools that are available. And primarily for the home fitness user, there's the easiest things to find are dumbbells and also resistance bands. And the nice thing about both of those tools is they're very, very versatile. Some of the most versatile pieces of equipment that we have available to us. As one of my colleagues says, dumbbells are smart. They're a good way to exercise your upper extremities primarily. They can also be held as weights for when you're doing lower body exercises like lunges and squats. The nice thing is with dumbbells too, unlike even bar weights, is if say I have one arm that's not capable of doing quite as much work, if I have dumbbells I can load each side appropriately. Whereas with a bar weight I can use my weaker side less and get away with it. So with dumbbells I can key in on that. For the advanced fitness users, if you have gotten to the point where your exercise is not really progressing, so you're not going up in weights anymore, you've been doing the same amount of reps for a long time, things aren't really moving forward, dumbbells allow you to use neurologic tricks that can sometimes really help you begin to progress again. So if I were doing, say, a bench press with a bar, and there was 100 pounds on the bar, just to pick a round number, what I could do with my dumbbells is I could use a 60 in one hand and a 40 in the other, which forces my brain to adapt to that new loading scheme, which then can help, again, jumpstart a program that's kind of gotten a little bit stagnant. The other thing about dumbbells is that they work always in the perpendicular to the ground, so they work with gravity. So your resistance is always upward. So your exercises have to be set up so that you're working opposed by gravity. Things in a plane that are neutral to gravity, I have to hold this weight up, but actually to move my arm side to side doesn't really require very much muscular effort. That's where resistance bands come in, because they work independent of gravity. I can pull them down, I can pull them sideways, I can pull them diagonally, and I can go through a lot of different functional patterns. So this allows me to do a lot of exercises that are in ranges that would be impossible with a dumbbell, at least to get good resistance in all the directions that I would want to go. The other nice thing about resistance bands, whereas a dumbbell, if I get it moving very fast, then I'm using inertia. So I've gotten the weight moving, but once it's moving, it stays moving pretty well. Physics takes care of that. The elastic band, I can move through a range at a speed, any speed that I choose, as fast as throwing a baseball or as slow as pushing a large cart, and still get the kind of resistance that I want through that whole range at any speed, and again, then in any direction. The thing about the elastic bands that you have to take into account is, where do I fix it to? You can always use your other hand, or you can tie it off to something structural like a post or a door frame. And then you can use that to work through any ranges that you want. So again, dumbbells, resistance bands, probably two of the most versatile exercise tools that you have. Now I'm also showing you how to use these with your upper extremities, but the other thing to remember is that, especially with the resistance bands, I can tie them around my ankle, I can put a loop around my legs and use that for doing some agility type of activities. Just a variety of things you can do with them. An outstanding set of tools to begin your exercise program with. I get asked about form in an exercise, and the way that an exercise is done is key. The pattern that you move through, whether it be to simulate a functional pattern, again, like throwing a baseball, or to work a specific muscle like your biceps, the way that you do the exercise really is what determines if that exercise is going to do what you want it to or not what you want it to. Now, our brain organizes our motor patterns based on the outcome. So if I want to get my hand from here to here, my brain's worried about where my hand is. It's not worried about what's going on at my shoulder or my arm. Same thing if I want to raise up a weight to curl my biceps. If the weight is too heavy, I may start to use muscles in my upper shoulder girdle to get the weight up, because my brain is saying I have to get my hand up in the air. Again, outcomes based. But what I want is I want that good form that's going to allow me to key in on my biceps. So form is the most important thing, and it's also the parameter that I use when I'm judging how well someone's doing an exercise and where we're at as far as their repetitions. So we talk about a 10 repetition max. And that, in DeLorme's theory, is kind of where you want to be, is in that the ability to move that object through that motion 10 times before you fail. And failure is everything from I can't get it up at all to I have to start doing something really weird in order to get the weight where I want it. You have fatigued out that muscle, it's time to take a break. When we go back to DeLorme's theory, which has been tried and true for 30 or 40 years at this point, we're looking at 3 sets of 10 repetitions to failure. Now, if I can breeze through 10 repetitions and it really doesn't challenge the muscle, that's not going to do me a whole lot of good. What I want to do is I want to hit that 10th repetition, and I want to be struggling with it. And I usually use a range, 8 to 12. So being able to complete that exercise with good form for anywhere between 8 and 12 repetitions to failure, rest, come back, do it again, 3 times. And when we look at that over the long term, we look at being able to do that exercise then maybe 3 times a week at that intensity, and then you should see change over time in a muscle.